This is assessment task 1, the multimedia presentation for Sean Drummond. I'll be focusing my presentation on the chapter 5 from module 1 about social class and inequality. So for a long time we have, as a society in Australia, believed that we are very egalitarian and very as equal as possible. We have a education system that allows for social mobility, allows us to move up the social classes, and that our social stratification, whereas there are people from disadvantaged people areas can move up. This idea seems to be very flawed through a lot of the evidence. It's showing that income inequality has gotten worse over the last few decades, and it is believed that much of the blame is to be placed on the education system. Correlation does not mean causality. There are a lot of other factors that are to play. Yes, education plays a significant role, but there are a lot of other factors that play a role in this. I believe it's short-sighted to say education is solely to blame for so many other factors. Yes, it's played a large role in continuing on the idea, continuing on the privilege, continuing on, but the meritocracy, that if you work hard and you take advantage of the situations that you do have, means that you, for the most part, can succeed. It's not to say that no one from public schools has ever succeeded, and it's not to say that no one from private schools has not failed. To continue to work through this, there needs to be more interventions at a federal, state, local government, as well as a mindset within families to improve this, not just within schools. So the education system that we have is very functionalist, and it's for the last century, it has had strong links to the government. This will always be the case, as it has been shown that education can play a large part in preparing people for the workforce and can create a level of social mobility. However, because of this, once people are educated within the system, they understand how important it is to hold on to that position of wealth and a comfortability and the opposite of that. And so therefore, they will always try and hold on to that. And so therefore, there has been a hidden curriculum that has been established whereby those from privileged and advanced and higher socioeconomic backgrounds are more likely to succeed. Again, that is very understandable, as if you are in that position, you do not want your children to fail. Yes, this is favouring the people in the higher socioeconomic backgrounds. However, it does not mean that people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds cannot succeed at all. And it is simply by their lack as well that they may provide themselves more motivation. We as children cannot change the parents that they've been born into. A fact of the Gonski report, as well as to the Lamb report and a Connell report, saying that statistically speaking, the best advice we can give to a poor child to get ahead through education is to choose richer parents. A flawed statement, an inherently wrong statement. You can't do anything about that situation, and so therefore, I question that line at all, as it creates a mindset that the rich parents shouldn't be doing what they're doing to try and advance their children. Try and ask any parent that they don't want to try and make their child better. Whilst I have stated this, it will be naive to say that we as a nation have not had serious flaws in the way that we have treated minorities. And the white Australian policies that were occurring still only 50 years ago are having a significant impact today. The attendance rate of Indigenous children all the way through is only 82% versus 93% of non-Indigenous children. So there's large gaps in education. This does require a lot of work, but the only way forward for this is to integrate as best as possible the multicultural nature of our society into the education system. So we can learn a lot from the indigenous cultures and education, such as storytelling, that could benefit many children instead of the way in which we teach at the moment, where it's just simply regurgitating statistics and learning information for testing, providing data for more funding. Again, though, this shouldn't be to say that we need to criticize those who are privileged. We need to develop within children a further understanding that life inherently is not fair. It is not fair that someone is born in a poor area of Uganda rather than a wealthy area in Germany. It is not fair that some children have to travel 45 minutes to reach school, rather than one just has to walk out their door. We cannot, creating a truly egalitarian and just society is a flawed concept. We should not obviously stop trying to strive for that. However, it's misguided to think that by doing this, that we can create a completely just society, and that we should. And so this brings me to the whole idea of equal outcome versus equal opportunity. So we should never stop trying to achieve more equal opportunity, but declaring equal outcomes in a society where you are valued based on your contributions is highly unlikely to occur. So we need to create better opportunities, but this doesn't necessarily lead to greater outcomes. And the way in which we structure our society means that there are going to be those within it that, based on natural, undetermined, completely, you cannot change the intelligence of someone. You can have an influence on the intelligence of some people in the IQ, but some people are just inherently born smarter than others. Some people are born taller, some people are born shorter, some have got blue eyes, some have got blonde eyes. I refer to an anecdotal story from Good Will Hunting. And the main character of Will has a photoeidetic memory, and his best friend Chucky will have to work as a construction worker for his entire life. Now, this isn't necessarily fair. However, we should not be criticizing Will for having an incredibly smart brain, and nor should he be detracted from using that intelligence to assist himself. We are all given a certain leg up in life in some one way, shape, or form. And just to sit there and say that just because someone is a construction worker doesn't mean their life is not worth living, is highly flawed. Its values need to be held elsewhere. So the combination of equal outcome versus equal opportunity is vital. As I stated, having an advantage does not make it necessarily unfair. Life isn't fair. The differences within people is inevitable. It's not only necessary, but it is impossible not to occur. These differences need to be celebrated, respected, and understood, and be free of prejudice and discrimination. However, we must not be blind ourselves to the fact that being different is an inevitability, and it will occur. There is always going to be individuals, and there needs to be individuals to look at issues in different ways and to try and work forward in the best way, shape, or form, but with the understanding that even when we are moving forward in the best way, shape, or forms, cracks will appear and people will fall through them. So, moving forward from this, it's the understanding that, yes, schools have continued on societal norms whereby potentially the rich get richer and the smart are more benefited than others. But the schooling system can play a significant role in changing this mindset. Breaking the social stratification, however, whereby there are different classes, it's a difficult issue. Do you hamper some to bring others up, and not to allow our society to continue to grow? I think I previously mentioned that the idea of we all wish to get ahead in life. Parents should not be detracted from sending their kids to higher education school, more focused education schools, in the hope of providing their children with a better life, rather than having to send them to schools whereby they aren't given the best possible opportunity. This is an inherent part of our culture to try and create growth and better ourselves and those who are to come afterwards. And this is also to question. I also question the current emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and maths. Yes, this is likely to be the future jobs within our society. Will some quoting anywhere from 50% to 90% of the jobs that will be created will be focused on STEM. Now, again, this is now painting it that we have to have STEM created children, whereas there are other jobs that will be created, and not everyone is going to fit in with that. So looking at this from different lenses of different cultural practices is probably ideal to. So we cannot focus solely on these, but we kind of blind ourselves to the fact that these will form a large majority of our workforce. There are those who will fall outside of this skill set, however. Once again, we need to understand the inherent difference in people and how these differences will help us, not hinder us. So we need to look at how the values that are placed within our children, not only before school, but in school. And obviously right now we have large economic values that are impressed upon people. And we need to we cannot blind ourselves that this plays a major role in how our society works in money, wealth, and power. But we need to build better personal ones. And again, we cannot be blinded to the fact that there are factors outside the classroom that have a significant effect on building personal values. So I give the example that there are values that are placed within children before the age of 6, and they have a significant impact. A child who learns much about chess and card games and other such matters, and has had a lot of attention paid upon by two parents, is going to have a leg up on the child that has a single parent who has to work the whole time. Is that the fault of the education system, or is that the system at large? So developing better community and social values is imperative. So looking after thy neighbor, but understanding that we need to all be working together. Also understanding that it is through the inequality, this can motivate some people to try and change the system. It's through uncomfortable situations as well that we learn the most, not rather than just being comfortable all the time. So we need to understand that the education forms a single part of society. It is large and it has a huge effect. But the correlation of low socioeconomic backgrounds to higher education results to more successful lives isn't. That's correlation. It's not causality. As I stated before, the Gonski report saying that the best advice to get ahead through education is to choose richer parents. It's short-sighted, it's misguided, and it's incredibly flawed statement. Our society that we currently have of capitalist regime means that we're going to have a large emphasis on wealth and power. This does allow for the advance of students, but the opposite of a capitalist society being a socialist communist one, there is significant evidence to suggest the success of these systems is not only flawed, but highly likely to create more inequality. Finally, there needs to be, almost in conclusion, there needs to be more solutions rather than more problems. So we are having frequent reports about there being issues within society. Little or no solutions are being offered. There is an ABC report, however, that did suggest that creating more early targeted intensive support to students is critical, and making sure more schools are more socially integrated. This is a great way to start. So policies that need to be backed up by societal changes and vice versa. Again, in conclusion, this does require a high level of critical thinking to change. Hard work as well, and improving the critical thinking within schools is imperative. So allowing situations for children to critically think about issues needs to be encouraged, not just regurgitating stats and information. Allowing students to be wrong and learn from their mistakes understanding as well, just simply pouring money and resources into government schools and looking at macro fixes rather than macro and micro fixes, and understanding the goal of true equality is